I don't believe that your purpose depends on somebody else. Each season is important and it prepares us for the next. Hello everybody, I hope you are doing well. So in today's video I want to share something a little bit different with you. So if you are here to see a baking video or a cooking video, then prepare to be disappointed. However, if you are curious and you want to stick around, then feel free. You're more than welcome to stay and hear what I've got to say. In today's video, what I am planning to do is to share a little bit about what I learnt in a Hillsong Zoom conference that I listened to yesterday. It was organised by Hillsong France, but before I get into it, I'll give a little bit of context so that you can really understand what it was about and how I actually came about it in the first place. Right, so I go to Hillsong here in the UK, and at the moment Hillsong London are doing a marriage course for married people, of course, and as that doesn't apply to me, I did think, I was like, oh, you know, in my head I thought it's a shame that they've, like, you know, not created something for singles to get involved in. But yesterday I was on Instagram and I happened to see that Hillsong France posted about a relationships week that they're also doing, and the first night was yesterday, and that was for singles, and it was all about being single and dating. So when I saw that, I signed up and I thought, you know, I speak French, I understand French, this is a great opportunity for me to get involved, to learn something new during quarantine, and perhaps share what I learn with others. And after the conference I was inspired to share it, because there are certain things that I had heard before, but it was explained in a new way, and I think it's always nice to gain a fresh perspective on something that you hear often in church. So today I have my notepad and I have my Bible, and I will be referring to both. I've taken the time to devise a sort of plan of the discussion, and I'm going to divide all of my notes into 3 sections. So the first will be sex, the second will be while you're waiting, and the third will be non-Christian Christian relationships. So that's sex, while you're waiting, and non-Christian Christian relationships. So the first section was by Gabriel, and he took the time to really explain and make a link between the union that we have with God versus the union within marriage. And what he explained was that the union between us and God cannot be experienced without an alliance. So we can't experience and be in relationship with God if we don't know him, and if we don't have this union with him. It's just not physically possible. In the same way that when you try to take sex out of the context of marriage, it never ends well, because you haven't taken the time to create that union, to create that bond. You're not supposed to be, you know, one flesh with everybody, and that's where you run into the issue of things such as soul ties, because you start creating this bond with people that you're not supposed to be creating that bond with. But I really like that he made that link of, you know, really to have a healthy relationship with God, you need to be in alliance. You need to be together. That needs to be that closeness, that bond where you really truly lean into him. And I have never seen it in that way or explained in that way, but I think, yeah, you can't experience the depth of God's love and what God is all about without being in alliance with him. And you can't experience the greatness that God has planned for you within the realm of marriage. And, you know, the thing is, marriage is not all about sex anyway, but I don't think that the body, the flesh, can be fulfilled in such a way as it is in the framework of marriage, that you can't experience the depth of union as man and wife outside of marriage, and it just leads to destruction. Gabriel also took the time to create this incredible image for us all, and he said it's like if you have a balloon that you've blown up so it's full of air, and you just hold the tip of it. And he explained that so the air that's filling the balloon is like all the goodness and all the greatness and all that you have, that God has instilled in you to give to your future spouse, your future husband, wife, and every single time that you make a compromise, every time you step over that line, because everybody knows that there's a line, it's like you're letting a little bit of air out, right? And then compromise after compromise after compromise after compromise, a little bit more air, a little bit more air, a little bit more air. So then in the end you're left with a balloon that has not so much air in it anymore. And this is what you are going to bring into a relationship. And when it's put like that, you're like, whoa, you know, because the thing is, in my mind, if the other person is turning up with a full balloon and they've, you know, not made any compromises, they've same-sex marriage, they've, you know, done everything they could to stay pure, to press into the Lord and do all those things, and then I turn up with a balloon that's like half full, half the air's gone, I've, you know, somebody else has got some of the air and somebody else has taken up some of the air. Like, I mean, my thought when I heard it, I was like, oh my God, imagine having to explain that to your future spouse, that they, you know, have been waiting, they've been saving themselves, and then you have to explain, oh yeah, no, I didn't. Like, that's, in my mind, I just wonder, like, you know, that it's just heavy. But I thought it was such a great image of, like, you know, don't let go of the balloon, like hold tight to who you are and who God has created you to be, and just don't sway. Stick to the word. I mean, the word says what it says for a reason. And yeah, to make reference to the word now, right, so in Genesis 2, verse 24, it says, that is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh. That is why a man leaves his father and his mother and is united to his wife, not girlfriend, not anything else, just wife. And I think the scripture's pretty clear, and I think there's no mistake that this happens very early on in the Bible. I mean, you know, this is the first page of the Bible, and then in the second page of the Bible we're getting God's plan, what God wants of marriage and what he sees marriage to be. So moving on now to while you're waiting. I found this really interesting, this part. What I will take the time to mention immediately is that single And being single does not mean that you are inferior, because we live in a society that wants you to think that if you are single, you are less than. And that is not the case. I know many single people that are literally living their best lives, and what we have to understand is that your life doesn't come into meaning when you are with somebody. Your life already has great meaning. One great thing that they mentioned was that Adam was already very active and very busy when Eve came along. He was tending to the Garden of Eden. He wasn't just sitting around thinking, oh, I mean, I could do with a wife. I mean, I'll just sit here and wait until God blesses me with somebody, you know, because, I mean, there's really nothing I can do without a wife. No, he was busy. He was working, and he was active, and it was in that moment that God gave him somebody. So this really made me think, you know, what are you doing whilst you are waiting? Because waiting doesn't need to be a stagnant thing. You don't need to wait and be in one place. Wait and be doing things. Wait and invest in yourself. Wait and, you know, write that book that you want to write. Paint that picture that you want to paint. Learn that new skill that you want to learn. Take that course that you want to do. You know, I mean, I personally really enjoy being single, and I always say to a friend of mine, Elena, that I always say, you know, it's gonna take a good guy to take me out of singleness, because I just think of how much I have grown in this time of being alone, and, you know, grown as a person, grown in my faith. And I just think, you know, yes, great things are possible when you are in union with somebody, when you have that team, and yes, but that's a different season. And for this season of singleness, you have to decide that, you know, you're going to make the most of the life that you've been given, and you're going to allow God to work on your purpose, because yes, God may call you to be married, but yeah, sorry, the camera literally just cut off. But what I was saying is that yes, God may call you to marriage, but he calls you to other things. I don't believe that your purpose depends on somebody else. I just don't think that's how God wants you to think. I mean, how can you live? You know, there are people that don't get married until they're like 40. Are you just going to sit down until you're 40 and do nothing? I mean, there are so many great things that you can do up until then. There are so many ways that you can be inspired. There's so many ways that you can, you know, positively impact the lives of those around you. You build your relationship on a firm foundation, but two unstable people are not going to be able to build anything. So I think it's really good to work on you as a human, to work on the things that you have within you, the areas that you need to improve on, so that when God does bring that man or that woman into your life, that you are prepared, and that you don't feel any form of resentment from feeling like they are stealing some sort of freedom from you because you haven't used your time wisely. What they said, each season is important and it prepares us for the next, which I think is so important. I mean, if you think of it in a basic way, for example, when you go to school and that season of your life prepares you for university/college, and then that part of your life prepares you for work. At every stage of your life, you're learning more and more, and you're developing new skills, and your mind is developing and changing, and you're meeting new people, and they're able to speak into your life and transform the way you think and that will impact how you operate in the working world, how you operate on a day-to-day basis. Just in general, I think it's really important to respect that everything has its time and place, and that God's timing is better than anybody else's timing, and you cannot rush a good thing. Fact. And maybe he lifts his hand a little higher during the worship, just to catch that, catch that blessing. She said just because they are at church, it doesn't make them a Christian. Do they have a Jesus scent about them?